Yeah, we've got time constraint, yeah? So
okay. Well, if I'm overrun as well, give me time. Good morning, everybody. Hello! Can I quickly see how many are English and how many French? English first? French? Hi, welcome. My name is James. I'm currently a senior designer at JWT in London. I work on the digital side of things, but my job includes a lot of motion work as well as what you call pure digital design, which might be apps or websites or whatever other flat type of design you might consider. I'm going to talk to you today a bit about more of the motion side. There'll be obviously some of the web stuff in there. Hopefully you'll get the idea that one doesn't necessarily exist without the other anymore, and a lot of the projects that you might come across in real life in the industry are actually a melding of the two, and so having the hybrid skills can be really beneficial, really helpful. I'm going to talk to you about the kind of stuff I use in terms of kit and technology and all that stuff, software. Just briefly, I was at this very university myself about 10 years ago, and I was really red, I looked drunk in this picture. Maybe I was. I was a student. I did the Paris exchange trip, and I loved it. It was brilliant. I went to Gobelin and did a week there, and it was a real turning point for me. I came back here after that, and things were completely different. It was a wonderful trip, so I'm just really pleased to see that the exchange is still going. It was so beneficial for me at the time. So it's nice to see everybody. I'm going to start by showing you my reel, which I finished cutting a couple of months ago. Please bear in mind I'm not a 3D or motion artist. That's not my pure skill set. I'm a designer who uses stuff like Cinema 4D and After Effects and all that kind of stuff. I prefer to look at it as the right tool for the job rather than I'm just the motion guy. So, there's some sound. Here we go. Hopefully you get the idea. There's quite a mix of clients that I work for. I work better when I get to work across a breadth of different clients. At JWT that includes Nestle, Shell, HSBC, some previous stuff from other agencies. I'm better when I mix it up. Maybe you saw some of the KitKat work in there. Do any of you know about the recent announcement with Android and KitKat? The new version of the operating system is going to be called KitKat, and just as a little history, Android 3.0, this is the operating system Android, 3.0 was Honeycomb, and they've always gone with sort of sweets and desserts and this kind of stuff. Ice cream sandwich was 4. The current one is Jelly Bean, and you notice it's an alphabetical thing, H-O-J-K is going to be KitKat. And I started working on this at the end of last year. It's only recently been announced a couple of weeks ago. These things do take a bit of time to get ready. I was working at JWT, I've been there for 2 years, and Google, an engineer at Google said, what are we going to call the next one? Wouldn't it be great if we called it KitKat? And they phoned us up and said, you know, you manage a relationship with KitKat on a marketing level, could you help us broker the deal? So the first thing that that was part of the deal was packaging for the bars, and you might think, wow, a bit strange, a digital designer looking at the packaging, so that was what I had to do. I had about 24 hours to come up with a series of pack designs. Google had done some, Nestle had done some, and they didn't quite meet in the middle. It was the first co-branding piece of work they were doing. So it sort of fell to us to kind of broker the deal and come up with some stuff. So sadly, I can't show you all the work in progress bits for NDA reasons, but it kind of all began with me modelling up the droid. Cinema 4D skills have proved invaluable for this particular project. And you know, we sort of ended up with some pack artwork, which is currently being rolled out around the world. This is an example of the Korean artwork, chunky pack shots. And I kind of set the look. I did the master artwork, if you like, for all the global markets, and they've all picked it up. And it's running across 50 million bars of KitKat around the world, which is pretty cool. It's pretty amazing. As well as that, I helped co-create the release icon, which is this guy. I don't know if you know, but in Mountain View, Google's headquarters in America, they have like a lawn with all the statues of all of their release icons on. And it's a big deal when they unveil the new one, and we said, we've got to have one. And so this is our roof terrace at JWC, and this guy's the copywriter who helped me a lot on some of the work that I'm going to talk you through. But it was, I can't show you some of the initial stuff, but I sort of laid all the groundwork. This design was initially finally finished, I should say, by an agency in the States, but I did all the groundwork and look and feel and everything, and we sort of turned it from idea to execution, and it was just the execution stuff that finally got finished up in the States. But KitKat is our client. We have KitKat UK and KitKat Global as clients at JWT. This is very much a global piece of work, so we were dealing with the global client, and one of the creative directors that I work into said, I really want to do a parody site. This is a tech launch, essentially. We should do a tech website. So we thought, fantastic, cool idea. So we started looking at the competition, and this is spring ground of Apple's Mac Pro website. It's a beautiful site, incredibly well built. I'm sure they had months and over £100,000 probably to build it. We had a couple of weeks and substantially less money. So we sort of started by examining the competition, as I said. You know, we looked at our friends Google, because we're best buddies now. We're looking at their stuff, and you know, the things to sort of take note of for us were the tone of voice, the type of navigation. The Mac Pro has this kind of breadcrumb thing on there, and we decided, okay, let's parody it, let's really go for it, and we decided a scrolling site would be the best approach to this. We wanted the animation in it that Mac Pro has, and we wanted it to be really rich and really exciting. We sort of went through all this stuff, looking at, and Apple's tone of voice is pretty self-indulgent. It's really quite up themselves, I guess. You know, good design when you use it. It's this sort of tone of voice and this kind of language. So the first thing that we did, after examining all this stuff, was that we started writing some copy. This might be a slightly different approach, but it worked extremely well for us. We knew that there would be sections within the website that we wanted to talk about, be it hardware or applications or whatever it might be. So we started writing some lines, and we knew they would have to be really cheesy, just so people would get the idea it's a parody. So, you know, we looked at the language. This was, yeah, where is it? I haven't got it on here, but my favourite one was that obviously it would be pay as you go. You know, KitKat is a chocolate bar. The whole idea really is just to sort of align KitKat, the chocolate, with mobile phones. So once we sort of had a look at the copy, I started working up the design. I'm going to show you the site in a little while, but I just want to sort of talk you through some of the bits and workings and things that I did to bring it to life. So I started off by modelling the four-finger KitKat. I said before, Cinema 4D is my 3D package of choice. Started, you know, just sort of working on some rough layouts, I suppose. looking at colour treatment, typographic treatment, you know, what's the look of this thing going to be? And of course I said that we wanted some really nice animations in this site, so we ended up doing a sprite animation approach, and this is some of the early animatics that I did. You know, how can we make this bar look monolithic and like a mobile phone? You know, we're really lucky in the sense that it's that kind of shape and it sort of works. But we wanted to bring it to the next level, so you know, talking about hardware, you know, what's the guts of this thing look like, what's the inside going to be of a KitKat, how do we make it feel really tech and really, really, really cool. I'm going to show you the site, in case you haven't seen it. Let's just check this over here. So, it's a fairly heavy site because of all the sprite type of animations. We had to be extremely clever with how we optimise this kind of stuff. This is probably not your usual flat website, if you like. There's a lot of animation work in it. So as you start scrolling down, things begin to turn and animate, and you know, there's a mixture of JPEGs and PNGs, and how do we optimise this stuff so that we can have the colour cutting behind it. This kind of stuff we had to consider, and you know, it was just a really beautiful thing to work on. And you know, the copy really is a big part of it. Because I modelled the bar in Cinema 4D, I could then go ahead and render it out in different styles and different ways. So we ended up with this blueprint, red print thing, confectionery, history repeats itself with every bar. You know, it's really self-indulgent. You know, people have to get the idea that this is a parody. This is a really cool thing. And the thing to bear in mind is, at this stage, Google had announced the partnership, but they had no content. They haven't actually released the operating system yet. I think it will be very soon. Well, I can say it's very soon because we're working on the next piece of work, and I'm killing myself doing it at the moment. Just keep going on through. Here's the sprite that you saw there, the animatic, but it's all user controlled, so it feels really responsive and really satisfying to go through the site. You know, you get control over all this stuff. You know, if we're talking about adjustable orientation, of course you can rotate a KitKat, for God's sake. You know, it's cloud-based, mobile, all these kinds of stuff. You know, we worked up the animations for all this kind of stuff, but hopefully you're getting the idea that motion graphics does live on the web in different ways than just a video. It isn't purely that anymore. You know, accessories, sorry, is my left hand scrolling. You know, just little carousel things, you know. Of course, yeah, tea's an accessory for a KitKat, absolutely. You know, we shot all this stuff in-house. This is a little thing that you go through with a ritual. This is Charlotte. She's one of the account handlers on KitKat, and you know, bust out the retouching. Hope she's not watching. Tech specs. You know, this is getting obvious now, isn't it? We all know what we're talking about here. It's just a really wonderful thing. But literally, everything got modelled in 3D, and the client, the head of KitKat Global, I'll just take us back to the to this. Let's just hide that real quick. Let's just get back to this. The head of KitKat Global came into our war room, and this was a phenomenally successful way of getting this thing done. JWT is quite a large agency, so we have like 3 or 4 floors of people, and people sitting in different areas of the building. So we said we have no time for this, and we need to work collaboratively. So we all just came into one room, and I think you can see me poking out behind here, telling these people that, you know, we're screwed. But as I was saying, the head of KitKat Global came in and he said, guys, I love the site. We showed him the animation stuff that we were doing, and he said, this is cool. And a week before launch, he's like, I want a video as well. So we're like, oh my God. So, of course, we went ahead and did a video, which I'll show you shortly. But I just wanted to show you the war room, and you know, as wonderful as modern techniques like Google Docs and these collaborative platforms are, nothing really replaces you sitting in a room with the people that are doing this. So, project manager, .NET developer, sysadmin, lead developer, copywriter, we're all in the same room, we're just making it happen. And these types of projects benefit hugely from that. Mobile, of course, let's not ignore mobile, a massively critical part of every single campaign that we do now. The sprite animations do work on mobile. We're going to be pushing an update soon. You'll be able to see some better animation work going on here, but you know, just cannot be ignored. At the bottom of the site is the video that I was just talking about, and this guy is a guy called Richard Fraser. He works at our office. We didn't hire him, but he's a megastar, like 2.4 million views or something like this. It was kind of a, perfect storm. Google had announced this. The media were hungry for information, so this thing went everywhere. It was on every single tech site, BBC News, absolutely everywhere. I'm just going to play the video for you now, and then I'm going to talk through some of the techniques and everything that was done.
Every corner, every edge, every finger, every bar has been carefully considered and crafted to create a beautifully immersive and multi-sensory experience. And it really does taste as good as it looks. Because when we set out to create confectionery perfectionery by designing the perfect chocolate bar, we nailed it first time. With adjustable orientation, it worked perfectly in portrait or landscape for a truly panoramic taste experience that will leave you up in the cloud. With global coverage, you can take it literally anywhere. At an extremely unequivocal 10mm thick, 1 finger long, and 4 fingers wide, KitKat 4.4 is the perfect second screen companion, compatible with all liquid accessories. With 2 megabytes, 4 megabytes, or a 20 bytes option, no matter what kind of break you're looking for, we've got it covered.
Thanks. This video was produced in 5 days, start to finish. This is one of our meeting rooms at JWT. It was a 3-camera setup, so it's a multi-cam edit. I did the grade, all the post-production, sound engineering, the whole lot myself in 5 days. That was tough. That was hard work. But it was great fun, and you know, some of the techniques that I used. There's a little video here. This is the wireframey stuff that I started on. It's just going to go through some of the processes and the kind of clouds. This is the first clean render that comes out of Cinema 4D with nothing else added onto it. And then, of course, you know, grade, color correction, motion blur, overlay graphics, all that good. It's just sort of helping you through the process of everything that kind of gets done as part of this video. And yeah, it was ridiculous. It was fun. It was just great fun. Here's a little shot of phase 2. I can't really tell you too much about it, but this is work in progress, and you'll see that in probably a couple of weeks' time. So that's it for KitKat. The next piece of work that I want to talk about is for HSBC, the bank. HSBC, I don't know if anybody's rugby fans here. They sponsor the Lions tour. If you know anything about the Lions, once every 4 years, the best players from England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales come together, and they go on a tour. And it's usually to a Commonwealth country. And this year it was Australia. And JWT produced a very nice 90-second TV ad for this, and I'm going to just play it for you, just so you get the idea of the campaign. But we had to create a very integral digital piece of work to go along with it. And let's start with the video. This is not my work, by the way.
So, gentlemen, we'll take no prisoners. Go.
Yeah. Take that to Mr. O'Driscoll.
So these are all legendary rugby players of the game. And the idea is that they're on a ship sailing to Australia. hopefully you get the idea for the look and feel of the campaign. You know, it's an old warship or whatever, sailing through the seas. Brian O'Driscoll, one of the most legendary players of all time. You know, it's a legendary journey. So to support the TV and to make a campaign of it, if you like, just doing a TV ad is not really what's done anymore. It's very much just part of the mix. We created a custom YouTube channel. This particular one is an interactive globe. You can kind of choose the different regions they go through. So they start in Great Britain and Ireland, they go through Hong Kong for the first match, and then on to Australia, where they play the Test Series. And there's lots of games played in different stadiums around Australia and Sydney and all those kinds of places. The look of this piece was purposefully designed very much to time with the TV. It needs to be a unified campaign. You know, just consider all your touch points, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. That ship was a set build. It was a magnificent set build, 300 grand, I believe it was. This is some of the guys I worked with. The TV was one stream of the production. I wasn't too involved with it, but at the same time we had our own studio next door, so that we could use the talent at the same time. So those guys you saw in there, Brian O'Driscoll, those legendary rugby players. Oh, here's me messing around. So here's our rig. I'm going to show you the type of work that came out of it, but this is, if you've ever seen The Matrix, there's a thing called bullet time. We got to play around with these, which was awesome. This is an 18 camera digital SLR rig with the right kind of curve on it. It was supplied by a company called Time Slice, and they do all of the great work that you see on TV with the bullet time and all that kind of stuff. The rig just takes a shot from every single camera all at once, so you have 18 stills and you can basically move around the thing. Whatever it is, and of course, you know, you've got to mess around with these things and have some fun. This is the creative director. I still haven't turned this into an animated GIF. I really need to do that. I'm just going to play you a little video, which is a little run through the site and what we did. So the 90-second TV that I was showing you part of earlier, we turned it into an interactive film, essentially, and as you play through the video you can click on different hotspots and explore these legendary players. Online we wanted it to be a place where you can find out more about them. There's a bit of statistics about them. This is a terrible thing to be talking about. I'll just play through it. So it's very rich. This was built in Flash because just seemed like the right thing. So this is the part that we did. So this was the initial shot of Willie John McBride. First, second, third pass keying, final grade, and then you'll see it gets inserted into the interactive video. So these are the hotspots along the bottom that you can click on and choose which legendary player you want to view, and you know, they sort of queue up with the video. You can move around them using your cursor. It's just this really beautiful, rich experience. You can click on the pictures and find out more about them. Of course, it has to work on tablet. Our audience are very tablet heavy, what's called like C-suite of CEOs and thing. But the cool bit is that you can tilt the iPad and the thing would move for you. It's really responsive, really reactive, and it's a beautiful thing to play with. You know, we did everything that went along with it, press ads, banner ads, and it was all done in this beautiful kind of scroll, you know, you are commanded to the shift and all this kind of, it's just beautiful. It's a really lovely campaign to work on. And I think we got 1.5 million views on that, which is pretty amazing for a financial organisation. If you know anything about YouTube and what is successful and what isn't successful on YouTube, this kind of content, less so. So it was a testament to how well it went. How are we doing for time? All right. The next piece of work, and this is the last sort of main piece of work, is something for the Army. I don't know if you know how the Territorial Army operates in this country. We have Army, Navy, Air Force, and their reserves. The Army's reserve is called the Territorial Army. I think it's going to get renamed shortly. But we wanted to do a campaign which changed the perception of the Army, rather the Territorial Army. A lot of people see them as like these, you know, weekend guys. They sort of turn up and they don't do a great deal. You know, they mess around in fields in England. That really isn't the case. They get deployed out to places like Afghanistan. You know, they really do go out on the front lines sometimes, what's called outside of the wire. So we wanted to do a campaign that really showcased that these guys do, you know, a lot of what regular soldiers do. So we decided that we would do something called TA Live, and this was a campaign that ran end of February this year, maybe March, early March. And what we did was we flew a satellite truck out to Camp Bastion in Afghanistan, which was mental. And for 2 weeks, during commercial breaks on ITV channels, we broadcast live ads from Afghanistan, showing what these guys in the Territorial Army do. And my job was to produce the sort of look and feel for the whole campaign, all of the motion graphic stuff. I'm going to talk you through some of the processing that's involved with that and what it takes to get a live ad out and still call it live. So I'm just going to play you a little video which sums up the campaign. This is a guy called Nick Murphy. He was the director that was out there.
Hello and welcome to TA Live from what is at the moment a very cold and wet Afghanistan. My name's Nick Murphy, I'm the director of the project, and for the next 2 weekends we'll be bringing you live feeds during the ad breaks of ITV programmes. We'll hopefully show you what Territorial Army soldiers are up to out here on operations with the regular army. I'm not sure what they'll be doing, but we've been out here for about a week prepping, and I can already tell whatever it is, it's not going to be what you and I call normal life. Don't miss it. It starts this weekend on ITV, TA Live.
So hopefully you get an idea of what the campaign was about. This all started off with a custom YouTube channel. I find myself doing more and more custom YouTube channels these days. YouTube appears to be an excellent platform that a lot of brands want to be part of. You know, you can pay Google essentially for a custom, what's called a custom iframe, and that lines that HSBC logo I just showed you was done in a custom iframe. You can pay a bunch of money to Google and they'll redirect your channel straight to a custom iframe. You can put in there whatever you like. Usually it's going to be video content. And of course, ours was going to be video content. It was going to be ads that were coming out from Afghanistan, and we wanted it to be updated as quickly as possible as those ads had gone out. So this was the very first, I didn't do this, this was the very first pass at design for that YouTube channel. And we kind of felt that it wasn't quite working. It didn't have that urgency of a live broadcast about it. So I sort of stripped it back and started working with the creative team and started investigating. This is one of my mood boards, investigating what constitutes a live broadcast, what makes it feel like it's live news or it's happening right now in the moment. And this was a really nice starting point, really, to try and explore that. The next slide here is some explorations of typography. This is the kind of stuff they have on their website already. This is where we kind of got to a little bit in the background. And then just looking at other great pieces of reference, I suppose. Don't underestimate what your research will give you in your final result. It's really critical to do it. So you know, don't cut corners if you can. I started developing the logo a bit more, and you know, thinking about what a lock-up might look like and that kind of stuff. And I wanted it to be an animated thing. I wanted to really draw attention to this sort of sting. If you look at any of the news broadcasting, it's really big and then it just pulls it down into BBC News or Sky News or whatever it's going to be. So I wanted a similar thing here. I wanted to take those cues from what my head was live and what was now. So I started working up a little animated version of the little logo, I suppose, a little ident, a little bud that we were designing. The next phase was to start looking at it in the context of layout and typography. You know, how's this stuff really going to sit on screen? And then from there, the first thing to do was idents. We ran a series of 10-second trailers, if you like, before the live ads went out. We wanted to get people interested, tell people this thing's coming, look out for it, because you know, it's live and you've got to tune in at the right moment. So this was the first. This is the first sort of attempt that I made. Instantly didn't feel like it was right because it was this sort of scan lines. It felt like the old army, and that's not really what the army is about anymore. They're very digital, very modern. So you know, that kind of stuff just didn't feel right. So the next thing I did was start sort of glitching it up a bit, make it feel a bit more modern, you know, digital interference. I like, if you like. I wanted to get the idea that, you know, they're out there in Afghanistan and it's hard to get a signal through. So that eventually ended up with this, and this was one of the first 10-second trailers. Hopefully quite disruptive and fairly intriguing, and a lot of people started saying, what the hell is this TA Live thing on Twitter? Which was exactly the result we were looking for, which was fantastic. This is one of the other ones. Yeah, the sort of footage that I used in the background was intentionally obscure and blurred out and really distorted and glitched up just to sort of get people interested. What the hell was that? You know, challenge their preconceptions of what the TA is all about, essentially. So that sort of data glitch feel ended up going onto the YouTube channel. This was sort of the further refined editions of it. Mobile versions of the same YouTube channel, of course, absolutely critical, as I mentioned before. It was just really wonderful to see my sort of look and feel roll out across all different kinds of media. This was just a display ad, but again, it used the same stuff. You know, how I treated the type, how I, you know, made this thing animate. It was just great. You know, little bits and bobs went out just to sort of tell people when these broadcasts were happening, different times, when to look out for them. You know, really trying to get people going in the campaign. But the other sort of main part of the campaign was this, and it was they set up these road shows, I suppose, whatever the term is. This was one in Cardiff, I think. All the major cities anyway, Cardiff, Birmingham, Glasgow. All the TA soldiers, they came out and they had massive screens, so they could be around when people were watching these things and say, look guys, look, we actually do this stuff. This is real. This is not us messing around in fields. You know, it's just a really great thing to be part of, and you know, it all went out on the printed items, all the banners, all the drop downs. Just a little note on the actual production, and I'm going to show you one of the final 60-second ads that went out with the content from Afghanistan here. This is the control room. ITN, if you know ITN, they were our production partners for this particular piece of work. And for a live ad to be called live, it has to be recorded and it has to go out within 2 minutes of the feed coming in. So we were sitting in a room watching the feed come in. It had to be that take. We couldn't retake it. There was no reshoot. There was no edit. There was nothing. And it all got piped into this very small control room in ITN. And just to talk you through the process, it's 2 minutes to be called live. So we had to get the feed in. My graphics, my top and tail graphics that I created had to be applied. It then had to be approved by Clearcast. We had to have somebody from Clearcast, which is the advertising watchdog, I guess, if you like, that approve all the ads that go through. They had to be in the room. We had to pay them to come in. It had to be in the room saying yes or no, this is clear to go out. We had to have our creative directors sign it off, and we had to have our clients sign it off, and it had to be played out again all within, you know, 2 minutes. So no mean feat, and quite nail-biting at the time. So I'm just going to show you one of the 60s that went out. This is with my top and tail graphics on it, and one of our ads.
The TA is serving with the regular army right now, and we're recruiting.
So it was essentially a recruitment campaign. The KPIs, the key performance indicators, this is a lot of advertising jargon, were to get people through the door, get them signed up, sadly get them shipped out, I guess. And we smashed all the numbers. It was a very successful campaign. It's been award-winning. So that was just a really wonderful thing to be part of, and it was my first foray into TV, graphics for TV. So the kind of stuff that you have to learn on the fly there was, you know, where's your broadcast safe areas, you know, your Munsell tests, all this kind of stuff. We were using some real glitchy kind of audio and visual, so we had to run through some extra tests to make sure it wasn't going to trigger any epileptic fits or anything like this. There's some really interesting things that you learn along the course of doing video for TV broadcasting. So that's it really for me. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you. Have you got a question for James? Anyone? Question?
I was just going to ask, with the KPI, key performance indicators,
Yeah.
what kind of things are they looking for? And like, is that like a projected thing, or is that like when they get it back, like when they get all the info back from the TV companies and stuff?
So there's that was less about number of people watching the ads on TV. From my own digital perspective, it's stuff like number of clicks on the banners, it's number of views on the YouTube channel. As soon as those TV ads went out, they were instantly uploaded to the YouTube channel, and people were driven from Twitter and Facebook and all the other social properties to watch them again if they wanted to. So it was number of repeat visits, I guess. And more than that, for the client, the key performance indicator was people coming through the door to sign up.
How do you sleep? I'm sorry, I shouldn't say this, but how seriously how do you sleep at night? How do you feel okay with producing an advert that the key performance indicator is more people joining the army in a war effort that is absolutely disgusting, more people getting killed because you're good at your job? Like, I mean, it's bad enough that you work at banks, but seriously, I don't understand how you can come here and show this as if it's okay. And I work here and I know I shouldn't say that, but I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a fair question. My morality is something anybody that goes into advertising has to struggle with. You'll find yourselves in uncomfortable situations producing work for companies that you don't necessarily agree with. I guess all I could really say is somebody else will do it if I don't do it. And you know what? It's
not conscription.
It isn't conscription. I'm not press-ganging people into do this.
No.
You know, I'm sure. You know, the thing you have to remember about this particular campaign is we are showing the reality. This was live ads coming from Afghanistan, showing what people actually do. If people decide that is for them, then they can go ahead and sign up, I guess. It's a tough one. You know, I don't just work. You know, I work for some really horrible. Well, probably shouldn't say that. Maybe cut that one. I work for some companies that have had questionable activities in the past. It's something you have to live with if it's something you choose to go into. You know, there are times when you can say no, for sure, when you work in advertising. You know, there are times when I've said no to tobacco advertising. I just don't agree with that. You know, it's down to personal preference, I suppose. But quite often you kind of get what you're given. I still have to pay the bills. You know, I can't say no to every questionable company out there. And you know, I've chosen to go into advertising, and you know, that's just the reality of it.
The first two campaigns, the KitKat and the Android, saw your integration between After Effects
Yes.
and the web.
Yeah.
Like how? I mean, we did a project with After Effects, and the files came out massive.
Yeah.
How did you get those things online?
So the After Effects work that you see there was sort of the angle stuff, for example, that got laid on when the KitKat rotated. That was the After Effects work. The KitKat itself is all done in 3D. I mean, once you've rendered out these files, they're just image sequences, and then you can, you know, do all your final grading, compositing, and sound work, and everything in a video editing package like Premiere. That's mostly what I use. And then you just export for web. I mean, the compression algorithms in H.264 and stuff like this is great. YouTube will happily accept all that stuff, and everything gets chucked out full HD now. It's not really the problem it once was.
James, question. I mean, over the last 3-4 years, there's this preconception that Flash is dead as a software. but you've used that in one of your projects.
Mm.
Why did you use Flash rather than something else?
Well, we used Flash in the first instance because of a resource issue. We didn't have any really solid HTML5 developers in-house. We now do. We do virtually no work in Flash now, other than banners. That Lions piece of work was one of the very last things that we did in Flash. We are building a new channel, brand new, fresh channel for HSBC with interactive videos and everything else, and it's all done in HTML5.
You mentioned one of your developers in that sequence where you were looking at your room there was .NET. Are you working in sort of .NET MVC4 or something like that? Is that sort of area that you're in?
It's not my area, you'd have to ask him. The .NET guy was brought in just because of the server infrastructure that we had to use to deploy the site. I mean, the Flash thing, yeah, it's kind of over. Yeah. You know, we have one guy who does it full time, doing banners. Because banners are still a very lucrative piece of business for us. Display ads, you know, we can charge quite well for them.
So are you saying that, like on YouTube, I've been looking at YouTube and most of the videos are Flash?
Sure.
Rather than HTML5. So when do you think the transition between all the HTML5 videos, WebMs and OGs,
Okay.
when will those be replacing the Flash?
I know that YouTube are in the process of transcoding all of the video content they have. It's a long process, they have an infinite amount of video. The one thing I would say in regards to YouTube, Flash versus HTML, the main reason we are building a new channel for HSBC is because YouTube have brought out something called the One Channel, which is a responsive architecture to their iframes, so the Flash piece of work is always a fixed width thing. It was 970 pixels wide, and now we have to account from anywhere down to 640 up to 1060
responsive.
and TV.
So that's the key, isn't it?
Responsive.
So it's got to be HTML5 for that.
Any other questions?
Can I just make an observation, James, which was that you mentioned in there, you said about consider all your touch points, I think was the phrase that you used, and obviously embedded in what you've done is a very, I guess what we would kind of conventionally call a cross-media kind of approach,
Yep.
that you've taken those things into account. But the observation is that you seem to have done that almost routinely, so
Yes.
there's no sort of issue around that. You've just taken that as granted.
Yes.
So you have to get that content out across those different channels, and you have to consider all those.
Yeah, it's very much the norm.
Yeah.
You know, we would pre-plan all of those platforms that we want to target. You know, and that comes from examining who your target audience are, where they operate. You know, is it YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest,
And I
whatever.
like your phrase that your audience is very tablet heavy as well, which I thought was nice.
Well, for that particular thing, yes. You know, these guys are what we call C-suites, so they're CEOs, CFOs, they're high up people in companies, and they all have their iPads.
Yeah.
And our results and research showed that a lot of people were tablet users, so we had to accommodate for them.
Excellent.
Another interesting point you made was the collaborative work with real people as opposed to across the internet. You know,
Yes.
you in a room together, exchanging ideas.
Yeah.
Do you think that's the best approach in terms of working collaboratively?
Yeah.
That's it? Yep.
Yeah, it really is that. When the guy that is building the site is sitting next to you, you can see his screen. It's instant feedback. And if you had something in your head that perhaps you haven't conveyed so well, and he's building it in a different way, you can instantly see the way he's developing something, and you can adjust on the fly. It's the quickest, most agile way of working.
Yeah. I think everybody gets that common theme as well, and because everybody's talking about the same things, so you get that common sort of sense of the whole design.
Yeah, you do.
From that, which you can't do that remotely very easily.
Well, you know, but there are these concepts that if I work by myself in a bedroom, I can be the greatest designer on the planet. I don't need other feedback. I think it's important that you have feedback from all parties responsible for the project.
Yeah, it's surprising where some of the best feedback can come from for design. I enjoy working with planners, which typically in an ad agency are the people that would go and sit with the client, work out what the business problems are, and plan out a year's worth of marketing activity. You know, I can then get a creative brief that filters down the chain to me, and I can start developing designs and this kind of stuff that I think answers that brief. But it might be that the planner's insight further up the chain is going to give me the feedback, which is actually going to make this a lot more effective. You know, it's designed for advertising. It's a balance between effectiveness and look at, I don't know, aesthetics. And it's it's one of those things you've always got to bear in mind. It's so easy to go and just design something you think looks beautiful, and you make your icons really small and hidden, but actually the user experience is no good. And one thing that I went for an interview a few years ago, and the guy said they want you to do a presentation, and I brought along, I think I might have one still in my bag. I brought along some kiddies blocks, just little things that you give to 2-year-olds or whatever. And for me, this represents what is good in user experience. It's tactile. It's not too heavy. It can be lifted up. It's color coded. If they've got endless amounts of them, their imagination just fuels it. And this is something which is so stripped back but so successful. I take a lot of inspiration from something like that when it comes to user experience. So, yeah. Hey.
What are the internships like at
It depends what area you're going into.
Say like post-production, so like TV broadcast and video and stuff.
So I'm probably the only guy that works directly for JWT that does this kind of stuff. Majoritively, we still farm it out to Soho, or we have a facility in our building called Transmission, and they're another company, but they have a load of editors and motion people in there. You could probably approach them, but approaching JWT for an internship to do this kind of stuff might be tough. I guess I've just kind of wormed my way into it.
One more question.
When you present your idea to the clients,
yeah.
How do you deal with rejection?
How do you deal with rejection? They're paying the bills, so you've got to handle it well in the room. You've got to go, okay, great, yeah, I'll take that all on board, and then you go back with your team and work out exactly how you're going to tell them to go away. I think if the rejection is well-founded and it's not hitting the brief or it's not on brand, then you just take it on the chin. That's your mistake, and you've misunderstood the brief or you've misjudged the brand, and just live with it. But if it's something where they just get, and it does happen, of course, where they just they'll nitpick over something that so a good example is a website design recently where everything was purposefully, there's always intent with where you put things in your layout, and they just the logo needs to be needs to have a red background or a blue background or whatever it was. So I had to change everything, and it broke the entire layout. Just this one colour change broke everything, and it's really tough because that wasn't part of their brand. It was just a subjective thing, and it's hard to live with that stuff sometimes. But it's just one of those things you just got to pick yourself up and get on with it. The longer you're in advertising, the more you'll realise that it's more about the war rather than the battle, if that makes sense. And the more foresight you have with what's coming down the road, and do I argue this point or do I not argue this point? That stuff comes with experience, and if it's like I won't argue this point and I'll live with the criticism because I'm going to get this thing over here, which is going to create a wonderful piece of work and something I'm really proud of, then that's a way of getting past it.
Okay. Thank you very much, James. Thank you.